YouTube! Guess what? I've got awesome battle replay for you from a Mr. Sol Invictus. I believe he's playing as the Masaesyli here. He's going up against the Kush. So this is a Desert Kingdom brawl on the steppes. Because they got tired of the desert, right? So let's check out the units we got here. Numidian Nobles. It's a cool unit. Numidian Cav. So 4 Numidian Cav backed up by some armored Numidian Riders. So these are the heavy shock cavalry. Desert Legionaries. And some slave infantry with some desert cavalry. Support there, and yeah, just slave, desert cav, and some heavy Numidian skirmishers. So a couple of javelins. Very shock and skirmish heavy army here. Let's check out the Kush army. Kushite slave spearmen, slave infantry, Shotel warriors, so some shock infantry, swordsmen, armored Shotel warriors, and looks like a few units, or a couple of units of Ethiopian cavalry, Kushite Royal Guard cavalry. That's a very tough cavalry unit right there. And some slave slingers. So it's going to be a light skirmishy kind of battle. You can see that CA did not update the spaghetti lines. Rome 2 is still fresh pasta central, whereas Mr. Maximus Meridius, rest his soul. He's not dead. Just talking about his YouTube channel not being there anymore. Oh, he used to call him the Pastati instead of Hastati. Oh, the spaghetti lines. You can't blame the players for doing this, though. I mean, it actually has a reason, and for those of you who don't understand it, yes, there's charge penalties to your infantry for being spread that wide, but when you get into an all-infantry fight, or if you're getting shot at by skirmishers, this gives you a lot more benefit than the risk is kind of worth, so that's why you see people do it. So it does give a bracing penalty, but it's typically, people find it to be worth the risk. Over here, some of the slave slingers got caught up by the armored Numidian riders, and the Numidian javelin cavalry is chasing off the melee cav of the Kush here. So this is a nice combination over here of javelin-armed tribesmen with javelin-armed cavalry and then some shock cavalry. So all of the melee cavalry for an enemy will be harassed by the Numidian cav, which does have very effective javelins. They're pretty shaky, but their javelins are pretty effective. You can see here they're going to try and take some shots into the back of this army, and then the shock cavalry can follow it up. Oh man, they really do need to mod, or not mod, but CA, if you're watching this, which I doubt they are, but if you are, please fix the spaghetti lines. You did it in Warhammer. It can't be that hard. Fix the spaghetti lines. It would be great. That's the only thing that drives me crazy. Like, I say the only thing. It's one of the things that continues to drive me crazy in this game. One of the things. And it would be a cool fix. Just because it looks weird. It's like Napoleon Total War without the muskets. So, here we go. Kushite spearmen, slingers, gonna get some charges in from the armored cavalry. Here comes the Ethiopian cavalry, which is actually some pretty... It doesn't have a bonus versus large, so this is really meant to go against skirmishers and light infantry. Yeah, and the Numidian cavalry is going to come in here and try and toss some javelins as well. At least, yep, there it comes. So this Ethiopian cavalry is not in a great place, but it's supported by the slave spearmen, so that'll help. Then we got a little bit of light infantry action going on over here. So some Gaetuli tribesmen going into the slave spears. Or Nubian spears, my bad. Oof, shock cavalry charge, shock cavalry charge. Ethiopian cavalry and the Nubian spearmen are reeling pretty badly over here. There are some armored Shotel warriors. The other problem with the spaghetti lines, beyond looking weird, is this kind of stuff, because the units get, like, it messes up all their movement and charges, and, like, it's just kind of weird looking, and then it creates this, where everything's trying to reform. Just very interesting, very odd. But this is a nice engagement here for the Masaesyli player. They're kind of picking at this group here, and the more that the Kush player commits to this, it almost feels like the worse it is, because he's just taking shock cavalry charges. I can see here he's coming up and using his javelins here on the armored warriors, but it just doesn't seem to be worth it. And then he's lost these slave slingers back here now too. These Desert Legionaries are going to be a tough unit. Look at these Roman wannabes. Roman deserters or Roman wannabes, one of the two. Are we fighting these slave swordsmen? Slave swordsmen are kind of a...
Shame for this place!
There we go. Get some more legionaries coming in. And the Desert Legionaries are going to easily hold their own in these fights. The only units here that are really going to be a big threat are the Shotel Warriors. These guys should be able to lay waste to Desert Legionaries. Some of the Spearmen coming back. These Numidian cavalry really harassing the Kushite Royal Guard. Kushite Royal Guard looks like very Hellenistic, at least the horses do. They're going to charge in, try and help do some damage against these Desert Legionaries with the Shotel Warriors. They're doing a little bit of damage. These warriors are going to charge forward, and you can see the Desert Legionaries fleeing that engagement. They don't want to be there. Then the armored warriors are going to charge forward as well and engage. Again, these guys should pretty well wreck the Desert Legionaries. They certainly didn't put the right animations in for those sickle-type swords that they're using here. I feel like I'm picking on the game, but that's not my intention here. It's not my intention. It's fun. I'm enjoying watching this. It's just the little things like that that people give Rome 2 a hard time over. Am I right? You know what I mean? So if you like the game, I'm not sitting here trying to pick on it or ruin it for you. Just saying. It's the little things like that that add up. Those are cool looking units. I have to, I mean, they really do look good. Units look good. Man, you can see they're putting an absolute beating. They're in shield screen now, which gives them huge melee defense. So they are absolutely laying a beating down on these Desert Legionaries. So the fight going really well for the Masaesyli early on, but now that the infantry fight's underway, it's less good for them. But the skirmish element, these heavy Numidian skirmishers, they've made it to late game. These guys will be decent in melee after they expend their javelins, and their javelins cause tremendous damage. So you can see these heavy Numidian skirmishers here were able to hold long enough to get rid of some of the Shotel warriors. So it looks like that that Kush is just going to kind of get wrapped up by the combination. It's mostly a really skirmish shock army with a few Desert Legionaries to hold up a line. So that was really what the Masaesyli army was, and it's an interesting pick. It's going to be the Numidian Noble Cavalry. These guys can cause some decent damage in melee. Yeah, they got really good javelins, and they've got very good melee attack. It's a sword-armed unit, though. Just to make people aware, it's a sword-armed unit. It's not... It's got a spear for, like, anti-cavalry work. Comes those shock cavalry here, putting the charge on these Nubian spears, I believe. I can't get this two things separate. Yeah, Nubian spears. They'd used rapid advance, got wrapped up. The last few Kushite forces being routed from the battlefield now. So in the Battle of the Desert Kingdoms, Masaesyli comes out on top with a pretty decisive victory here. Though, you have to admit, you gotta enjoy those Shotel warriors. Well, this guy doesn't enjoy the Shotel warriors. He's like, why? Why did I engage them? Let's take a look at this stat. Wow, man, this Numidian rider right here got some sick kills. That was nice. This Desert Legionary must have gotten a good engagement as well, maybe against some slave units from the other side. But I mean, look at these Shotel warriors, like even outnumbered and getting hailed on with javelins and other stuff at the end. I mean, almost every one of them racked up 100 kills. When you average it out, they most certainly did. But it just wasn't enough to turn the battle. So I mean, that was a brutal infantry line from the Kush. But his skirmish element and his cavalry was struggling to keep up with what the Masaesyli fielded. 4 javelin-armed cavalry with only 2 slave slingers to try and keep them at bay. That could be challenging, right? You would have to try to use the range of those slingers to your advantage, but it's still a challenge because all those javelin cavalry are supported by the armored riders, which can put down a painful charge onto something like the Ethiopian cavalry. So good game to both players. Really enjoyed this one. Thank you to Sol Invictus for sending that in. And hope you all enjoyed getting to see some multiplayer action in the new Desert Kingdoms. I'm kind of thinking about what I should do with Desert Kingdoms. I know I don't have time to play like an entire campaign with one of them, but if I play a campaign in my free time, I may like try and put together some highlights or something from it. What other kind of content would you all want to see from the Desert Kingdoms? I mean, if you have replays from it that you think are good, you can always send those to me, but just kind of curious. I don't want to spend a ton of time in Rome 2 because it is such an old game, but it's new content, and I do like visiting the new content, and like I said, I'll probably play it a little bit on my own, and if you all want to see some highlights, let me know. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Appreciate you being here. Hope to see you back soon.